Okay, I have a job to do today, but that job today is not going to be outside. Instead, well, I probably will be out here later because there's always something to do. And today is going to be cutting some grass and I have to do a little bush hogging, but that's going to have to come later on because I have more important things to do. But the job that I have to do today is going to be inside the office. Let's go in there and check it out. Okay, so here we are in my office. And I did a video a while back where I had to cut some holly bushes down that was outside of that window right there. So I kind of gave a brief little synopsis of our office here. It's a pretty typical office. My wife's computer, my computer, our individual desk there, and things like that. I play a little guitar, so my guitars are in here, and I have my amp down there for my electric guitar. I also have basically an acoustic amp that I use right there. I do some gigs, some solo guitar gigs every now and then. I don't really go out and look to get that work, but I do know some people, and every now and then I'll go and play some gigs. So I try to keep up with that. And but I also have some other things going on in this office. And you can see this computer bank that I have over here has some interesting equipment associated with it. And the reason that I have this equipment sitting over here is because of what I do in that closet. So that sounded strange. Okay, well, some people come out of the closet. I go into the closet. And so here's what the deal is. So for a number of years now, I'm probably working on about 25 years that I have been doing professional voiceover work. It's not my only career. I am actually working on 34 years as an aircraft mechanic for a major airline that's based in the Atlanta area. I won't mention the name, but let's face it, if you've ever come through the Atlanta airport, you probably know who it is. But anyway, about 25 years ago, when I was an instructor for said airline, I got into doing voiceover work, and it was mainly because of a need that we had at work, where they would use instructors to narrate training programs. And so that's how I initially got involved in it, and then I branched out into doing it professionally. And so I still do that work, and I do quite a bit of that work. And it is definitely a paralleling career that I've had going on for, like I said, right at about 25 years now. But so this equipment that I have here is for my voiceover work that I do. And I have taken a closet that we have in this office, and I have done some pretty serious modifications to it, and I have turned it into my own voiceover booth. And so I have my mic set up in here. I have a repeating computer monitor in here. It's actually a repeater from that laptop right there. All of my necessary things run down along the floor right there. They come in to the sidewall right there. And so I have a repeater monitor. I have a wireless keyboard and mouse. I have a music stand set up where I can put my scripts. I have a mic here. Probably, let me grab a light here. And I can kind of illuminate what's going on here. But I have a mic stand back there where I have a mic. And then I also have a separate mic, depending on the kind of work that I'm doing, would require a different mic. So I actually have two of them in here, which is good in case one goes down while I'm working. And I can just pull the other one down and change the cable over, and I'm off and running. But anyway, this is what I have set up in here. And as you can see, I also have sound absorption material. So, there's a misnomer out there about, this is soundproofing. This room is not soundproof, obviously, because it's only just regular closet doors that I've treated on the back side. But I don't know if you can tell the difference when I first came in this room, how my voice kind of got trapped in here. And that's the purpose of this room, is to kind of absorb any reflections that you might have off of your voice that might cause an echo. As opposed to when I come out here into the normal room, you can probably hear my voice is getting bigger. It's taking up more of the room. So anyway, those are just all little things that you have to take into consideration when doing voiceover work. So what I am doing today, I am not going to be able to let you hear what it is that I'm doing, because with most of the voiceover work that I do, I have signed a non-disclosure agreement that does not allow me to discuss what the information is that I'm talking about. And really the reason for that is because the e-learning work that I do has a lot to do with the aerospace industry. I do work for the airlines. I do work for the parts manufacturers, the parts that go on the airplanes. And I also do quite a bit of work for the aerospace industry as a whole, including NASA. This particular job is not for NASA, but this is a component that is new to the market. This is the training material that they are doing for that work or for that component. And so it's proprietary at this point. So they kind of trap you into an NDA where you can't really discuss it. But anyway, just to show you some of the equipment that I have set up, I do my voiceover work off of a laptop. And of course, I have my own logo for that, and I have particular recording software that I use. But for the most part, it's really nothing all that fancy. I use this laptop. My mic actually comes into a preamp. The preamp that I use is an Avalon, and the model is a VT 737 SP. And so what a preamp does is it basically kind of shape shifts your voice as you want the spoken word to come through on your program. Is kind of a basic explanation of a preamp. But it provides me gain, it provides me compression controls, and it provides me bass, low, mid, treble, and output volumes in terms of my voice that's going into the software program and how it's going to be produced later. All of that is controlled through an audio interface. I use an M-Audio Fast Track Ultra for my audio interface. And then most of the time I'm listening and editing everything with my headphones on. But I do have M-Audio BX5a Studio monitors. So if I decide to come out here and sit at this desk and do my editing, I can just take my headphones off and I can listen to everything through these studio monitors if I want to. So it's a basic setup, but it's very functional. It's very professional. I do work for companies all over the world, and I do a lot of it, to be honest with you. Over here in this corner, that stack of papers that you see right there, that is all work that I've done this year. This is October of 2018, and that is all of the scripts and everything that I've done this year. So I stay very busy doing it. The nice thing about it is that it mainly just comes in. I don't have to advertise a whole lot. This comes from people that I know, that I have known for over 25 years of doing this, and they call me and ask, can I do these programs? And it pays good, and I do it. So anyway, that's my studio setup where I do my voiceover work. And obviously also where, we do our normal computer stuff. My YouTube videos, obviously I have a YouTube channel. Most of that consists of, things that I'm doing out around our horse farm. But as you can see, other hobbies and things like that I do in here. So anyway, what I'm going to do is just kind of show you what goes into doing some voiceover work. I'm sorry that I can't actually let you listen to what I am going to be recording, but I can kind of show you the process. And I think as long as I keep it generic, I can throw some little snippets in there of what I'm saying. But I'm going to take you into the closet with me and let you kind of see what's going on anyway during this process. Okay, so we are inside the booth. I'm ready to start recording. I have all of my material here in front of me. I have my recording app, my software program that is opened up and is ready to go. You can see that it is recognizing what I'm doing through my green bands that are actuating right there. This is something that you want to keep an eye on. I've already got all of this set, so I know exactly what my volume level is and that type of thing. So, but that's something that you want to check, that you don't get into an area where you have too much volume. In audio work, that's referred to as clipping. So you don't want to go into that area. So, like I say, I already know where I have that set. I can check it again after I've recorded and I'm listening back to it. I can see if I'm going into an area that's going into the clipping range. But for the most part, I already have this down. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just start into the program. You'll see me doing it, but this is the part where I will silence what it is that I'm talking about, because I don't want to get into any issues, being that I've signed NDAs for this material that I'm covering. So, so let's do it. And one thing I've got to do before I get started here, I must have a drink. All right. When you're doing voiceover work, you always drink a lot of water. And it's also a good idea to drink a lot of water the day before you get in here and start doing this, because being hydrated and doing voiceover work is actually very important. You have a tendency to get dry anyway, just from talking so much, but it is important to do. Okay, what I always do is I do a practice run first. I read through it. I see if there's any areas in there that I need to mark the script. And essentially what that means is if there's a long sentence or a paragraph that needs to be broken up, because the thing that you learn is that people who write this material generally do not speak this material out loud, or they don't have to worry about catching their breath when they're doing this. So the way that people write material and the way that we as voice talent have to repeat this material may be completely different. And so I've always said that punctuation in a paragraph is a lot like street signs. They're just suggestions. So you may very well have to go in there and change where they have a period or they have a comma, and you may have to add an area in there where you can put a breath in. So that's something that's very important when you're going through this process. So just one of the little things you have to deal with when you're doing voiceover work. So I always go in first. I will read this aloud a couple of times to make sure that I have it down, that I mark it the way that it needs to be marked to make it easier for me to read. And then I'll go live and I'll start recording it. So this is a read through on this first to see if everything's going to work. A319s and A320s have inner and outer cells within the wing structure. Fuel can be trapped in the outer cell if the fuel panel door is opened after transfer begins. You must check both cells for fuel quantity on arrival and departure. An inner stick and stick number 5 must also be checked for both arrival and departure fuel quantities. Okay, so I read through that. Nice sentences. I don't think that I need to go in there and mark anything up. I should be able to go live on it now. So this is how we do that. And a minor malfunction in my recording here. Come on, baby. You can do it. Come on. I want to see a red recording light come on, and I can catch that out of the corner of my eye, so I know if it's coming on or not. There it is. A319s and A320s have inner and outer cells within the wing structure. Fuel can be trapped in the outer cell if the fuel panel door is opened after transfer begins. You must check both cells for fuel quantity on arrival and departure. An inner stick and stick number 5 must also be checked for both arrival and departure fuel quantities. Okay, so I read it, and I can control all that over here with just my space bar, where I can start the recording software and then I can stop it. And like I said, I can see that little red light out of the peripheral to tell if I'm recording or not. And so anyway, after I've said what I want to say, we can see here that, let me get the recorder off. So I just get rid of that. And then there it is. That's what I had just said. And so what I want to do is listen back to it and make sure that it is exactly what I want. This right here is where I said, there we go. So I know that I can get rid of that. So let's delete that. And
A319s and A320s have inner and outer cells within the wing structure. Fuel can be trapped in the outer cell if the fuel panel door is opened after transfer begins. You must check both cells for fuel quantity on arrival and departure. An inner stick and stick number 5 must also be checked for both arrival and departure fuel quantities.
okay, so I just listened back to it. It sounds good. I didn't have anything weird that I did in there. I didn't have like any weird snorts and that kind of stuff. Popping in your mouth. This, you know, you get very accustomed to being very careful about your words, your pronunciation, and also this little smacky thing that you have a tendency to get when you speak. You can't have any of that when you're doing professional voiceover work. So these are all things that you're listening to. It sounded good to me. So now what I'm going to do is I have certain things set up in my software program that help me edit this. So this is what I do after each and every one of these. Now, each one of these little statements that I'm making are all going to go into slides. So if somebody is sitting down at a computer and they're watching a computer-based training program or a CBT, then what they are seeing is a series of slides. It starts with the introduction. This is why we're doing this course. Here's where we're going to start in chapter 1, and here's the subject matter. And it goes from slide to slide to slide to slide. And that's what I'm doing here, is I'm creating the narration that is going to go along with the picture on the screen. I don't see what that picture is, and rarely do you ever see that picture. You just have to kind of imagine in your mind what's going on in the background, and you are talking to this person who is watching this program. And so what I'm doing now is that each one of these little snippets is a slide that's going to be taking place. So I have just created the narration for one of those slides. I've listened back to it. I like how it sounds, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to edit that. I'm going to go in here first, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a noise reduction. And I already have this all pre-set up after years and years of doing this, and this room that I'm familiar with here, I know exactly the sound that I want to get out of it. So this is all preset. I hit OK, and you can see that it just ran a process, and it processed that that audio that I have on the page. Now what I want to do is I want to go in and edit it for some other things that I want to do. I always leave a 1 second start at the very beginning of it, so I put my line right here, and I make sure that it's not more than 1 second. So I'm going to delete just a little bit. There's a fraction of a second where I went over, and I'm going to come in here and I'm going to start silencing everything. And I already have some keystrokes that I have built into my audio program that allows me to do this quickly. And so what I'm doing here is I'm taking out any room noise that might be in there. So when you're not talking and there's these pauses right here, what you're getting is the room noise background. And what that is it's a little hiss. That it's just the sound of this room that this mic right here is picking up. And so what I do is I silence that. I also silence my breaths. Now it depends on what it is that you're recording. If I were doing an audiobook, I would leave my breaths in there, because breaths are a normal way of speaking. When I am sitting here talking to you right now, I'm going to stop and I'm going to take a breath and I'm going to continue on. We're used to that in normal conversations. You're also used to that in recording as well. However, when you're doing an e-learning program, and this is something I learned a long time ago, so I'm going to come out here at the end and I'm going to silence all of that. And you can see when I do that with my keystrokes, it gets rid of anything that's in there. The reason that I get rid of breaths and everything else in between the spoken word is because even though that this is a final draft for this program, you just never know that the producer of this program, the developer who wrote all this down and who's going to be putting the program together, you never know when they're going to make a change in their program. If I left a breath in here right in the middle, and that happens to be a place where they decided that they were going to change that slide and put it somewhere else, now my paragraph or my sentence or the place that I stopped to take my breath is not where I anticipated it to be. It could very well be that the next slide will start with somebody hearing me go and it doesn't work out. And it's something that they on their end they try to edit, but it won't be as effective as if I edit it here. So I learned a long time ago, take breaths out so that there won't be any issue in there as to a breath getting caught in a program somewhere where it shouldn't be. So I take them all out all the time. That's just my philosophy. A lot of people don't do it that way. If you're doing an audiobook, you keep your breaths in because that's just a normal way of speaking, and you're taking somebody through a journey for 10, 12 hours in an audiobook. Okay, so I have done my editing that I want to do in there. Basically what I do is I get rid of the room noise, I get rid of all sound that is in between the spoken word. Each one of these is one of my sentences. And then one last thing that I do is I go in here, and this is where I add the juice. So I've already come in through a master EQ program. I have put in there exactly the amount of EQ that I want for e-learning, and you can see that this particular setting that I have is called e-learning setup. And watch what happens when I click the OK on this. You're going to see a change to this spoken word back here. So watch that. See how it just shifted a little bit. So what it did is it just fine-tuned that audio, and what it does, it puts a little bit of bass in it, and it puts a little bit of treble in the right place, and it really smooths out and makes your voice sound very, very silky smooth when you add those little features to it. It's not much, but it's just enough to smooth everything out. Okay, so now I will listen back to that.
A319s and A320s have inner and outer cells within the wing structure. Fuel can be trapped in the outer cell if the fuel panel door is opened after transfer begins. You must check both cells for fuel quantity
Okay, good. It sounds exactly what I wanted. I don't have any unnecessary mouthy noises in there. My edits that I put in there all came out good. Now I'm going to save this file. And this is the part where I have to identify, and I'm told in here by the developer exactly how they want each one of these files to be labeled. So I really only have to do this once, and then my software program has a memory. And then I can just make very few keystroke changes once I add all this in here. So that's the other part of the job is that not only are you reading all this and you're reading this perfectly, but you're also going in and you're making sure that you know, you're not getting tongue twisted on certain words. You're making sure that you're not running out of breath if you have an elongated sentence or paragraph in there. You are monitoring the software program to make sure that it's doing what it's supposed to, and then you're going in and editing everything, and then after all of that's done, they want everything labeled exactly the way that they want it labeled. So you know, you're just following their commands here and just doing what you have to do. Okay, and that one's actually a 14, not a 15. Okay, so now that I've labeled everything, and these are saved as MP3s. MP3s are going to be, you know, most music, digital music nowadays is MP3. There's a lot of different formats in which you can record either music or just people talking, but MP3 is going to be the best quality, not necessarily the most compressed, but it's going to be the best quality all in all, as far as size of the file is concerned, and as far as quality that you get out of that recorded file. MP3 is the way that most people want it. Okay, so anyway, I have it listed, I have it all in there the way that they want it. I'm going to save it. It just did its thing. I sent it to my desktop. Here it is. I have the actual file itself, and then this particular program also saves a backup file. So what it does is it creates two of them. So in the event that I need to go in during the time that I'm doing all this, I have a backup file just in case. I get that off the screen and I put it in my recycle bin, but as long as it hasn't been deleted, that backup file is there for me to go back and use if I want to. I get rid of that backup file just so I have the screen space. By the time I'm finished with this program, this screen will pretty much be taken up with all these files. That's how many of them I have to do. So I get rid of those backup files. But anyway, there it is. I want to make sure that it's there. It is in fact there. I open this back up and I close that particular file down. I'll put my recorder back on and I'm ready to go on to the next one. And then just my technique, every time I finish with that particular file, I will put a little mark on it so that I know that I have finished it, and then I'm on to the next one. And then as you can see, now I did quite a few of these yesterday, but as you can see, I have several of these to go before I'm finished, and then I have two more programs that I'll be doing as well. So that's the basic concept. Let's keep going, and here we go. And off we go. And we just repeat this process over and over and over and over and over and over again. All right. Welcome to the boring, mundane world of doing professional voiceover. Now, you know, this is e-learning. So let's face it, folks, e-learning, I was going to say it's not rocket science, but I've done a lot of e-learning programs for NASA that did have to do with rockets and components associated with it, and
it's interesting to guys like me who have been in the aviation industry for as long as I have. I just kind of geek out on stuff like that. So, I enjoy it. But in terms of e-learning is long, it's mundane, it is not very glorious whatsoever, and it gets to be very monotonous. But you just have to maintain your concentration, do your job, and make sure that you're delivering a good product. And really, that's what it's all about. And it pays good. So, not a bad little gig. I'm sitting in here with my shorts and flip-flops, my T-shirt, and so it's not a bad gig. Okay, anyway, on to the next one. Okay, I have finished with that project, at least this particular portion of it. I have another portion of it that I have to do. I'll be doing that tomorrow, which is Sunday, and I'll be finishing that up on Monday. The estimated time of delivery for that project will be late Monday afternoon. This particular project, I told them that it would be in their inbox on Monday morning. So that kind of gives you, an idea of how I handle this kind of work. I have a full-time job as an aircraft mechanic for a major airline. I work day shift with weekends off. And so my voiceover work has to be done in my spare time. And so a lot of times I do that in the evenings or on my weekends. And so fortunately, it's not something that I have to do every weekend. But here's the deal. When it comes to the voiceover work, there's kind of a saying out there, and it's called welcome the avalanche. So I might go for weeks and not get anything. And then all of a sudden, very similar to how this project came on me, is that can you do this? We need it yesterday, and it's going to be coming at you in 7 different portions. And we need a quick turnaround on it. And so when those things come up, you just say, okay, well, welcome the avalanche, send it along, and I will try to do the quick turn on it and get it back to you as soon as I can. So for me, what that means is I came home yesterday, Friday, from work. I sat in here and I did half of this project, and then I'm sitting here on a Saturday afternoon doing the other half of it. So anyway, I got all of that recorded, and you can see all of the individual files that I now have on my desktop here. That's only half of them. So just to kind of give you an idea, and there's another aspect of this that I'll show you that kind of goes into this. So I will take all of these and I will put them in the folder of the first half of this program that I did yesterday. So I'm going to put them all in there, and so I will open this folder, and there is all 35 of the individual slides. So this entire program consisted of 35 slides. Now here's the other thing, and this is something important to note. If somebody out there is interested in doing voiceover work, in particular when you're doing voiceover work that requires a lot of individual files, and these files are going to be completed over a number of days, in my case 2 separate days. The volume of my voice may not be the same when I'm sitting in this booth from day to day. All of my settings that I have on my software program are the same. I try my best to maintain a distance from the mic the same each day, but I might be projecting a little less strongly on one day, a little bit more strongly on the other day. So when you have that many files that are being recorded over the course of a couple of days, your volume level may not be the same, but the people that I am sending this program to needs the volume to be consistent across this program. It doesn't need to be, loud one day and then not as loud the next. So I fix that for them before I send them the program. And so just like everything, there's an app for that. And so what I can do is go into a program called MP3 Gain, and I will open this program up, and I will take this folder right here and I will drop it in there. And now what it's going to do is it's going to open up every single one of those individual files that I created over a 2-day period of time. I'm going to do a track analysis on it. And what's going to happen is it's going to come in here and it's going to show me what the volume level is in decibels on each individual file. And pick that up a little bit so you can see that. And it's down here and it's processing each one of those files. For the most part, I was pretty consistent. I have an 88.5 decibel up here, and for the most part I'm in the 80s. There's a 90.2, so there's a 2 decibel difference right there. But for the most part I'm within a 90.6 and an 88.5. That's not too terrible, but I want it all to be the same. So what I want is every single file, I want them to be 90 decibels. So now that everything is in there and it's been evaluated, I'm going to do a track gain, and now it's going to go through each and every one of these files and it's going to change the volume to make them exactly the same. So when the individuals who sent me this course, who are developing this course, when they get these files and they start putting them in with the pictures or the videos or whatever it is that they're doing, each and every one of these, as far as the volume level is concerned, is going to be exactly the same. So that's how I fix that for the customer. And then all I have to do is hit exit, and what it does is it puts it right back in to that folder again. And so now all of my files are complete. All of them have been treated so that the volume level is the same. And then I will compress this file and I will send it to the individual that hired me.